Hello everyone, we are continuing the series dedicated to the link between the wider UFO phenomenon and non-human life and the Forgotten Languages website, which hosts articles mentioned as part of the UAP hearing of 2024 and linked by people involved in the UFO digital spaces. As usual, we continue where we left off. We are still in 2013 and continue to build a bigger picture as we analyze new articles. The 26th of September 2013 was the date on which the article titled Channeled Communication, Minimizing the Depths of Trauma on Abductees was published. This topic is not new in ufology. While many experiencers report quite positive experiences during their alleged contact with non-human intelligences, there are also many instances in which the life of the experiencer is turned completely upside down. This is the case even more so for abductees. For example, if you mention the famous case of Betty and Barney Hills, with Barney suffering from trauma caused by their reported abduction event for as long as he lived. Let us see what this article says in its English parts then.
If sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts turn out to be some type of material entities located in a space of their own outside physical space, what becomes of the concept of mind? Entropy is generally regarded as expressing the state of disorder of a physical system. More precisely, one can say that entropy measures the lack of information about the true structure of the system.
There seem to be two excerpts merged into one. The first part is what is of interest here. While this channel has mainly covered the part of the UFO phenomenon and alien life which is usually called nuts and bolts, so the material and measurable part of it, there is also a clear anomalous and high strangeness or high weirdness part of it, strongly latching onto the topic of human consciousness. And this is what we are discussing here. Recent years and some daring researchers claim these days that consciousness, or the sum of human experience, is what is the fundamental property of us rather than something generated by the brain. According to those views, the brain is just the receiver for consciousness, which exists as a separate and possibly primordial field of sorts, something similar to the view posited in the paragraph we have just quoted here. The next part says the following.
Currently, it is widely believed that the physical body, plus its brain, is the only organism that a human being possesses. However, this is not a necessary truth, but only a priori assumption. I suggest that phenomenal consciousness is also a highly organized and complex entity.
So pretty much in tune with what we have just said as a comment to the previous paragraph, and in line with the emerging fields of research at the junction of medicine, psychology, and even quantum physics, where a lot of these questions are being asked and answers to them are being sought. And let's remember here that this article was published over 12 years ago, when such research was nowhere near as popular as it has become since then. Next, we have a musing concerning experience as a general notion.
There are at least two aspects to knowing what it is like to have a certain experience. One concerns what it is like to be the subject of an experience. Another aspect concerns the phenomenal or qualitative character of the experience. We get a picture of a phenomenal consciousness as a spatially extended and material entity located outside the brain in a space of its own that is one cross-section of a higher dimensional space, of which another cross-section comprises the physical world. The next step was contributed by H. Price in 1953, who saw that these two entities must be connected by a new type of causal reaction that connects events in parallel universes.
These two passages ramp up the field of consciousness and the possible access to spaces which we are not consciously, pun intended, aware of in normal states we experience every day. We should note here that abduction events hinted at in the title of the article are far detached from everyday experiences by any stretch of the imagination. And to conclude this article, we should add that the footnote here includes the defense tag, which Forgotten Languages often uses when brushing against what could hypothetically be classified information, provided in an encrypted form. The bibliography mentions Dean Radin and Rupert Sheldrake, long-term explorers of human consciousness, what it really is, and how can we explore it to better know ourselves and our place in the universe. The next article came still in September on the 30th, and it contains an interesting reference. Iron Age Edom as model for Altair 3 colonization, the Wadi Fidan 40 cemetery. Altair 3 would be the third planet of Altair, the brightest star in the constellation Aquila or the Eagle. It is worth noting here that so far no planets have been officially discovered around this star, and to the best of my knowledge it is not a very promising candidate for habitability in general. Not to mention the colonization part here of a star system located almost 17 light-years away. Let's see what the article has to say though.
At the end of the 13th century BC, there was a complete disruption of all core civilization authority in the eastern Mediterranean that led to a power vacuum that the region had not witnessed since the formative prehistoric periods when the first chiefdoms emerged during the late 5th millennium BC.
Well, this is an odd start to the article, reminiscent of the late Bronze Age collapse period in human history, when except for ancient Egypt, all back then empires and strong countries collapsed completely. This is followed by a mention of a possible military conflict with us, humans, who would be the other part of the conflict though. Avoiding military confrontation with STO 2020 humans along the Utah-New Mexico axis is no more possible, so we need to find valid models for induced civilization collapse. First, a word of explanation here. When I looked at the overall material on the website, it would seem that STO is a reference to the timeline we live in, ST probably standing for the standard time or timeline. As to what is the O part, I have no clue. This article from 2013 suggested some kind of an armed conflict in the US in 2020, which did not transpire as we know. On October the 8th, we have a throwback to secret and now declassified projects run by the CIA and presumably KGB in the 1960s and 70s. Project Stargate, remote viewers, psychic spies, and so on could be summarized in this title: Spiritual Warfare Technologies. The first English snippet says as follows: Ahead of you in time is a constantly shifting spread of probable futures. Your world line is not deterministic. Once again, let me add a mention here. As we will see in future episodes, the notion of the many worlds theory, known from quantum mechanics, is running strongly with forgotten languages. According to said theory, every act and every decision causes a split. Let's say if we decide to turn right, one reality becomes our own. But there is also another reality created, one in which we went left, with its own set of events, and so on. This seems irrelevant now, but it will tie to the main ideas we discuss here later on. On the other hand, one of the paragraphs runs back to the title of the article.
Normally, you cannot see the etheric and astral bodies, but with special vision or special instruments, you can detect them.
As some of you may be aware of, it is not unusual for experiencers to mention that they see UFOs or UAPs, while other people present at the same location do not see them. There are also reports in which every person sees another version of the same object. The same goes for alien beings. Some people see them, some do not, despite being in a place where they should, according to those seeing them. And the previous mention is tied to the article title, as is the next one.
The war is at a spiritual level, and you don't destroy a belief system with just lasers and qualtrons.
What are the qualtrons? The so-called qualtron machine is another of the main themes running through the website. It is apparently an extremely advanced piece of technology, one which could be placed on the Clark-Tech level, so indistinguishable from magic. We will say only this for now to avoid future spoilers. The topic of astral bodies then returns, as these are mentioned together with feelings and perception in the next two paragraphs.
What makes the astral body different is that instead of dealing with life force energy, the astral deals with emotional and creative energy. Rather than moving the cells of your body, it moves your feelings. The types of feelings you regularly have determine the shape and color of your astral body. But because the astral is so close to the mind, the way it looks is often more symbolic than anything. Religion is a complex toolbox of disinformation techniques. Notice the emotionally loaded language designed to appeal to sympathy, compassion, concern, hope, and love. The problem is not those virtuous feelings, but whether the premises from which they are invoked are actually true. They're not, for obvious reasons.
It should be mentioned here that it is not too unusual for people in the UFO circles to consider the notion that human religions are an invention of non-human intelligence, which created beliefs as a control mechanism for humans, so that we do not descend into complete chaos, anarchy, and wanton destruction. This is further expanded upon the division between the exoteric, that which everyone knows, and those who are entrusted with the esoteric secrets.
This included the establishment of human secret brotherhoods who were entrusted with special knowledge and powers to shape the course of civilization and act according to the goals of their alien benefactors.
Returning to the possibility of religion being created by the aliens, we should mention a theory according to which experiences such as Moses seeing the burning bush, Prophet Ezekiel and his fiery apparitions, Patriarch Enoch being taken by the angels and shown the workings of the universe, the Ark of the Covenant, and so on, could be just a version of worship based on aliens and a spin on a cargo cult, where earlier humans worshipped sky gods and their vessels. Not unlike the theories presented by people like Erich von Daniken and explained in the Ancient Aliens series. As the final paragraph of the text says,
Many people have begun to view extraterrestrial visitors not merely as friendly, but as technological angels who will guide us successfully through the uncertain years ahead. Disinformation seems to have worked in an extremely efficient way.
I fully understand and appreciate the fact that the notion of religions being created by aliens can be offensive to religious people. But at the same time, without the proof to the contrary, we cannot entirely reject this as a possibility either. Both blind faith and its outright rejection are, in my opinion, and I may be absolutely wrong here too, dead ends of human spirituality and logic. We simply cannot reject the notion out of hand because it does not fit our worldview. And I think this is what Forgotten Languages is also largely about, inviting us to think about the unknown. So, what do you think of this part of the exploration of this strange website, dear viewers? Let me know in the comment section down below. As we emerge from the holiday season, there may be new information coming from the UFO space, hopefully something sometime soon. And as soon as something interesting happens, I will let you know. In the meantime, stay safe, stay warm, thank you for watching, all the best in the new year, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and I will see you soon in another video. Take care.